All right, let's dive into a really pivotal moment in the history of open source. It's a story all about code, of course, but it's also about community and what happens when a corporate takeover forces a choice between deeply held principles and, well, profit. And it's all centered on one of the most important databases ever created, MySQL. This is the big question, right? This is the core of the whole drama. It played out in real time, right in front of everyone, and it really forced developers and entire businesses to ask themselves, what truly matters when a project that was built on openness and trust suddenly gets a new boss? So, to really get the impact of what went down, you first have to appreciate just how essential MySQL had become. We're talking about a true titan. And when I say everywhere, I am not exaggerating one bit. This thing was the engine behind the whole Web 2.0 boom. If you started a blog, built an e-commerce site, or launched a startup in the 2000s, there's a very, very good chance you were running on the M in the famous LAMP stack, MySQL. It was powerful, it was reliable, and maybe most importantly, it was free and open. But you know how these stories go? This golden era of community-driven growth was about to face its biggest challenge yet. A huge shift in who owned the code was right on the horizon. And this all happened so fast. First, in 2008, Sun Microsystems bought MySQL AB. Now, Sun had pretty deep open source roots, so while it was a bit unsettling, it felt manageable. But then came the real bombshell. In 2010, the database titan Oracle acquired Sun. See, this wasn't just any company. Oracle literally built its empire on proprietary, very expensive database software. This one-two punch put the world's favorite open-source database directly into the hands of its biggest commercial rival. And this wasn't just a quiet concern, you know? This was the question echoing across every mailing list, every forum, and every developer conference. Oracle was known for its aggressive business strategies. People were asking, are they going to slow down development? Are they going to mess with the licensing? Is the whole spirit of MySQL about to be lost? And this is where the story gets really interesting. Because while the entire community was wrestling with all these legitimate fears, the code itself, well, it was still evolving. You had these two completely parallel stories unfolding at the exact same time. This created such an incredible contrast. On one hand, you had Oracle's engineers delivering some genuine technical leaps forward. I mean, features like partitioning made it way easier to manage gigantic tables, and the performance schema gave developers these amazing new diagnostic tools to see what was happening under the hood. But on the other hand, none of these great new features could silence that growing anxiety about where the project was headed and the potential loss of its open source soul. So, yeah, this tension just couldn't last forever. The community, feeling like its influence was slipping away, decided it had to do something decisive to protect the future of the database they had all helped build. And their most powerful tool was something called a fork. This is one of the fundamental rights you have in open source. If you don't like the direction a project is going, you can just take the existing code and start your own new path. It's like a built-in escape hatch, a guarantee that the code itself can never truly be held hostage by anyone. And that is exactly what happened. Two major forks popped up as really powerful alternatives. MariaDB was actually started by Michael Wadenius, the original creator of MySQL himself. At the same time, Percona, a company already famous for its MySQL expertise, launched its own performance-focused version. Make no mistake, these weren't just simple copies. They were basically declarations of independence. So the crucial thing to remember here is that this wasn't really about features. This was a fight for principles. These forks were created to be a safe harbor, right? A place where the community's values, transparency, collaboration, and freedom would always come first. Looking back on this whole period, it offers some incredibly valuable lessons about how open source software really works. And these lessons are probably more relevant today than they've ever been. This quote right here really gets to the heart of the whole saga. You can have the best technology on the planet, but if the community that uses it and builds it loses trust in you, the project is at risk. The forks didn't happen because of bugs in the code. They happened because of a crisis in governance, a crisis over who makes the decisions and who they're making them for. It proved that how a project is governed is just as critical as the code itself. So what are the big takeaways from all this? Well, first, that governance is every bit as important as technical innovation. The best code can't save a project if the community feels pushed aside.
Second, forks are a vital escape hatch that can preserve a community's values when trust breaks down. Third, it just proved the ultimate resilience of open source comes from its decentralized nature. No single company can ever truly own the code. And yeah, on a technical level, the era also gave us powerful tools like the performance schema and semi-sync replication, which offered a great new balance between speed and data safety.
And this whole story leaves us with a really powerful question for today. The story of MySQL and its forks was a defining moment for sure, but it wasn't the last time something like this would happen. As more and more critical open source projects get acquired by or backed by huge corporations, we have to keep asking, who is actually guiding the future of this code? And what happens when their vision no longer lines up with the community's?